There are moments when you can barely believe your eyes when you see the unbelievable speed at which China has been carrying out the craziest and biggest construction projects for years. We are talking about a park made with a 3D printer, a skyscraper that was assembled like Lego bricks within just a few days, and a radio telescope so large that it covers 30 football fields and searches for life beyond our solar system. These are projects that would be completely impossible in many countries and that even make megacities like Dubai look outdated. That is exactly why we are now showing you China's most absurd and insane construction projects, which prove that China is 100 years ahead of us. Here, for example, we would probably see nothing but undevelopable swampland. But the Chinese came up with an idea to completely transform exactly this swamp. Today, this landscape looks like this. There are only 8 years between these two images. So while usually it takes around 14 years to build a single airport, China casually creates an entire metropolis in half that time, and one that is 3 times the size of New York City. The city is called Xiong'an and is located 100 kilometers south of Beijing. It was created in a completely different way from other cities. Normally, cities grow step by step. A small settlement keeps expanding until business districts and industries eventually develop around it. Xiong'an, however, was planned from the ground up before the first shovel even touched the soil. The entire city is based on a smart network that connects and controls all pipes, streetlights, traffic lights, and other infrastructure through one intelligent system, while a huge network of self-driving electric buses forms the public transport system. But all of this was also extremely expensive. Building this megacity cost China an unbelievable 80 billion euros. What is still missing, however, is a large population, because so far only around 100,000 people have moved into the city's core, which means that right now it still feels more like a futuristic ghost city. The next mega project was carried out in a place that is unpredictable and therefore extremely dangerous: the open ocean. China wanted to connect its 3 megacities of Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau. So a bridge was needed, but there was one major problem. This bridge had to cross the Pearl River Delta, a body of water known for its strong currents and frequent typhoons. On top of that, it is one of the busiest shipping routes in Asia, with huge cargo ships passing through at all times of the day. So how could a bridge stand here in the future while still allowing ships to pass through? The only solution was to leave a large gap in the bridge. That meant one part of the bridge had to be underwater. They simply built a bridge that turns into a tunnel at a certain point and dives beneath the surface of the sea. To make that possible, they had to build these artificial islands in the middle of the ocean, sink enormous tunnel segments, and connect everything together so that it was watertight. The now completed Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge is the longest sea crossing in the world at 55 kilometers. It cuts the travel time from more than 3 hours to just 40 minutes. It really is almost beyond imagination what is possible in the world today. Another example is this 200-meter-high high-rise in Changsha. At first glance, it does not look especially remarkable, but what if we told you that it was not built in years or months, but in just 19 days? The construction company managed to build an unbelievable 3 floors per day. That was only possible thanks to a very special technique. The skyscraper was basically pieced together like Lego bricks. The individual modules were prefabricated in a factory and then only had to be transported to the construction site, where they were simply assembled. The total of 400 construction workers involved worked in 3 shifts, meaning the work continued around the clock. Now let us move on to a construction project that was created in probably the most bizarre way imaginable. This 5,500 square meter park in the city of Shenzhen is completely 3D printed. Because in China, 3D printers are not only used for small hobby projects. In that country, industry is also increasingly relying on gigantic 3D printers that can produce almost anything at life size. Every detail in the park, from benches and flower beds to walls and sculptures, is completely 3D printed. The entire park was built in just 2.5 months and at a fraction of the cost of conventional construction methods. With the next mega project, China once again proved just how innovative it is compared with other countries. The city of Shanghai set out to build a huge underground complex beneath the densely built-up Zhangyuan district. The only question was, how do you do that when there are houses in the way everywhere? Right where the excavation was supposed to take place stood the Huayanli complex, a protected historic landmark. Instead of tearing the buildings down, the engineers came up with an idea. Why destroy a building when you can simply move it temporarily? Civil engineers turned to a technology that sounds like science fiction. They used more than 400 small walking robots to lift the 8,000-ton building and move it piece by piece. And that made it possible to simply build an underground shopping center, a parking garage, and a subway station beneath the houses. Once the underground work was finished, the Huayanli complex was simply moved back to its original location using the same method. Speaking of science fiction, this construction project looks like a spaceship that made a stopover in the city of Zhuhai. In reality, however, it is a gigantic indoor theme park, also known as the Chimilong Spaceship. The building has a metallic shine and glows blue at night. But it is not only the exterior appearance that is impressive. On the inside too, the building is absolutely record-breaking. Inside the 750-meter-long park, alongside many other attractions, are the largest aquarium in the world and the world's largest artificial wave pool. You can even stay overnight inside this science fiction-style building because part of it is actually used as a hotel, and the rooms there are also designed in a futuristic spaceship style. Of course, with all these construction sites, there is also a problem. They do not only create constant construction noise, they also release huge amounts of fine dust into the air, endangering people's health. But China would not be China if it had not already found a solution for that too. And that solution is inflatable construction domes. Entire construction sites are sealed beneath massive air filter structures. The domes act as barriers and capture dust, dirt, and pollutants. Filtration systems clean the air before it leaves the dome. At the same time, construction site noise is also reduced. With this invention, China has revolutionized the entire construction industry. Next, we come to a construction project for which an entire island was created. We are talking about this airport here. The Dalian Jinzhouan International Airport belongs to the city of Dalian in northeastern China. Because there was no longer enough space in the densely populated port city for a large airport, China simply decided to place the airport next to it, right in the sea. But that sounds much easier than it actually was. To create the island, entire mountains had to be removed, the seabed had to be stabilized, and enormous amounts of earth had to be moved. Construction began in 2012 and is still not finished. But there are some artificial islands in China that have already been completed, like this one in the holiday region of Hainan. What you see here is basically China's answer to Dubai. On Ocean Flower Island, which was also created entirely artificially, there are not only several theme parks and entire reconstructed European-style places, such as an artificial Venice, but also museums, aquariums, and a convention center shaped like giant blooming peonies. Ocean Flower Island is, by the way, the largest artificial tourist island in the world, and this artificial island is also extremely impressive. This is the largest solar island in the world. The Shandong Dongying Kenli project off the coast of Shandong province generates a full gigawatt of power, roughly as much as a nuclear power plant, and it does so through more than 2.3 million solar panels spread across an area of 12 square kilometers. The next mega project on our list stands out above all because of its extravagant design. Behind this glass sphere is a luxurious hotel called the Hilton Huzhou Nanshun. It is one of China's best-known architectural projects, and rightly so. The building is located right by the water in the Nanshun region and was designed to look like a glowing planet floating in the air. At night, the sphere shines from the inside and gives people an unbelievable light show. Inside are modern rooms, restaurants, and event spaces. Thanks to the huge glass roof, the entire hotel is flooded with light. Now we move on to something that really could come straight out of a science fiction film, and that almost feels a little dystopian. At the Shandong Yingfeng Life Science Research Institute in China, one of the world's first cryopreservation facilities exists. It consists of large, industrial-looking stainless steel cylinders located inside one of the institute's buildings. At first, the whole thing seems relatively normal until you realize that there are people inside these stainless steel tubes. Yes, human bodies are actually being preserved here at exactly -196 degrees Celsius. The people wanted it that way, however, because they agreed to be preserved in this manner after they died. For that purpose, they were prepared for preservation within just a few minutes after death, so they could be frozen in a stainless steel cylinder as quickly as possible. The hope of these people is that once the technology has been invented, they can be brought back to life, because their bodies will have been preserved so well by the cooling that they might possibly be usable again. It may sound like science fiction, but the Institute is already in extremely high demand in China and is continuing to expand these cooling chambers. By the way, it is not only here that you encounter people in giant tubes. At the company EX Robotics, you can also admire people in glass tubes like these. Not real people, however, but perhaps something even more fascinating: humanoid robots with very human-like faces. This company is actually working on robots made with molded silicone skin and hyper-realistic faces. These robots are not meant to work in factories or on construction sites. Instead, they are actually intended to become a kind of partner for real people. According to the company, the humanoid robots can already use their gestures and facial expressions to evoke real emotions in people and even create a feeling of closeness. The next structure is definitely not for the faint of heart. Anyone who drives across this bridge had better not be afraid of heights. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge in Zhenfeng is considered the highest bridge in the world. It stretches across a deep valley and hangs around 600 meters above the ground, which is almost twice as high as the Eiffel Tower. With a span of 1,420 meters, it connects two mountain slopes that previously could only be reached by a long and difficult drive. Around 4 hours along winding mountain roads, all the way down into the valley, and then back up the other side. Today, that route takes only about 4 minutes, but the construction was anything but easy. Normal cranes could not even reach this gorge, let alone position the massive components with precision. But necessity, as they say, is the mother of invention, so the Chinese developed the largest cable crane system ever built. This system stretched across the entire gorge and was able to lift the enormous steel components into place with millimeter precision. In just 3 years, a bridge was created that today is considered a true symbol of modern engineering. Write us in the comments if you would like to travel to China someday, and what do you think about all these megastructures?